$250 million in annual revenue and lower is still considered a small business. And then $250 to $500 million in annual revenue is considered mid-size. Anything above $500 million in annual revenue is considered a large business. However, I don't want you to just say small, medium, or large. It needs to be more focused than that. So possibly 50 to 100 people, or 100 to 200 million in annual revenue. A lot of times people feel more comfortable defining the size company as the number of people in it rather than the revenue. As far as an industry goes, you want to pinpoint one industry at a time. And don't say, I'll go for any industry. Because as you're looking proactively for companies that would meet these target criteria, you need to be specific in each one of these. And then geographic location is the last point that you need to consider. And it might be what city, it might be what part of town. Like here in Kansas City, there's the Missouri side and there's the Kansas side. So you may decide that you want to look on the Missouri side first, and then your plan B is on the Missouri and Kansas side. Broaden your search. Or you might decide, I'm going to look at companies within a 10-mile radius of my zip code, and then maybe a second iteration is within 25 miles of my zip code. What you would do, the way you fill this out, is that you come up with your first choice, plan A. So your first choice of job title, industry, size company, and geographic location. Keep it, the more narrow, the better, because then you have a sharper target. And then you want to change one of the four of these for plan B. Maybe you want to search in the same size company, same part of town, but in a different industry. Or maybe you want to keep the industry the same because you want to stay within one industry, and now you're looking at a slightly larger company or a slightly smaller company, or maybe a different part of town. So with each of these plans, and actually with my clients, I don't go to plan G. I go to pretty much 50 different plans. Sometimes, because if you have a very specific target in each iteration, then each time you tweak one, you're going to get, just a little different slice of that pie. The more you have, the better. And your targets may only garner you 8 results, 4 results, 20 results in one line, in one plan. But then after you've found all the companies that meet that target criteria, then you move on to plan B. Going back to what I said before about being too picky, once you have these targets, once you have all of this filled out, you're looking for companies that meet those criteria, and you capture just the bare minimum of the information that you need to contact them, and you don't do a tremendous amount of research up front, because that allows you to get out at least 25 or 35 resumes, or 45 a week, because then you're not spending all of your time researching just 2 or 3 companies. And one of the main problems that I see people do when they come to me is that they're only sending out 2 or 3 resumes a week, or they're only applying for 2 or 3 jobs a week. That is not going to get you a job anytime soon. Okay.
Now, Tammy, I want to interject here because I know you want to talk about how to have the right attraction tools in place, but what do you actually mean by that?
Sure. Well, we can move on to that. Thank you for being my timekeeper. I appreciate that. Really, there are, I'll give you 5 of them. Attraction tools really have to do with your communication strategy to employers, potential employers. And attraction tools mean, number 1, a really stellar resume that shows you're a rock star. And I'm going to talk about how to put together a resume because that is so key. That is very important because it's your first contact with an employer. So we'll talk about the specifics of that in next week's class. It's the same time, same bat channel as next week. So we'll talk about a really stellar kick-butt resume next week. Also, you need to have a great business card, not just a generic business card. It does not matter what the color is or what the design is. But I do recommend having at least a small picture of yourself for a couple of different reasons. One, if you meet them personally, now they know what you look like, and it does need to be within 2 or 3 years. It does not. It really shouldn't be something of 20 years ago, because that's kind of deceitful and it's not good business practice. So one of the reasons is because then they will recognize that card as who you are. They will link that. And then the second reason is that it's been found from a psychological standpoint that it's harder for people to throw away things with pictures on them. So if you have a picture on your business card, it doesn't have to be the half of a card looking real estate agent type card. It just has to be a nice small square picture in the upper left-hand corner or something like that. It needs to have a specific job title that you're looking for. It needs to have all of your contact information, business appropriate, including your LinkedIn profile. And I would recommend putting your strengths bullet pointed on the back. And that way it's kind of a miniature resume where it highlights those things that set you apart. And having that on the back, and maybe they'll look at it, maybe they won't, but it sets you apart because most business cards do not have something on the back of them. Number 3, and these are, I'll give you 5 here. Number 3 is a terrific cover letter or a marketing letter if you're using one. I actually show my clients how not to use one. I think that they take a lot of time. But if you put together a cover letter or a marketing letter, and a marketing letter simply is a cover letter, but you don't have to attach your resume. It's just a standalone letter. But it needs to highlight your greatest achievements, and it needs to be very aggressive in selling you. It has to connect the dots between what you've done for employers in the past and what you can do for them. However, I can tell you that it depends on what survey you look at, but anywhere from 63 to 75% of hiring managers, HR people, even recruiters say that they don't read them. And so that's why I'm not a big fan of cover letters. But there are marketing letters that you need to use in a lot of different circumstances that don't go directly to employers. Excuse me. Number 4 is a great online presence. And, of course, paramount to that is a great LinkedIn profile. Think of your LinkedIn profile as a 30-minute infomercial to your 30-second commercial resume. A resume needs to just be the highlight of your achievements, of your skills, of your experience. And LinkedIn allows you to put a lot more information. So use that. Use that LinkedIn profile to really tell the story of your achievements. Use some bullet points if you need to, and have a very strong summary. Again, you can use the information from your cover letters or your marketing letters on your LinkedIn profile summary statement. Also, everything online needs to be consistent with being a top performer. If you're looking for a 6-figure job, 6-figure positions are highly desirable. They are highly competitive because not only are you competing against people who have made 6 figures in the past, but you've also got all the people who want to make 6 figures and want to move up. So there's a lot of competition there. There has to be a consistent message, and really there's the difference between prospecting for jobs and positioning yourself as a top performer, and the online presence can really do that for you. I'll give you a good website to look at. One of the tools that I give my clients is Pipple.com, and that's P like Paul, I, P like Paul, L.com. That's something that is known by a few HR people and by recruiters to research people online to find out anything that's out there about them on the Internet. This will include some things that aren't going to show up on a Google search, but you need to Pipple yourself. That's www.pipple.com. You need to Pipple yourself tonight to see what's out there. And you might see some pictures out there. You might see, if you've got one of those names that's very common, you might see other people out there. But it will include blog posts. It will include your Facebook profile. It will include, in fact, I looked up myself. I've got a lot of quotes from myself in the media, but there was one time I looked up myself, and it had my kids' Christmas wish list on Amazon. I mean, it's amazing what you can find there. If if there are things there that aren't consistent with being a top performer, then contact the webmasters of wherever there's bad information and make sure they take it off. That's how you get rid of that. And then number 5, your references. Your references need to be walking testimonials. They are another attractor, if you will. So your references, feel free to coach them. Make sure that when you choose references, you choose them carefully. And the number 1 criteria for a great reference is that they are very enthusiastic about you. They need to convey strong, positive emotion. So overall, though, consistency is the key with all 5 of these. You have to convey that same message as being a rock star, as being a top performer. So, at this point, let's take a question or two regarding anything that we've talked about. Is there anybody that has any questions that are on the phone right now? If you do, raise your hand by pressing star 2. Okay, nobody? All right, that's fine. Let me look online and see if there's anybody that is online that has any written questions. Okay, so Carol, thank you. Okay, it says, what about if you're concerned about age or race discrimination with regards to handing out a business card that has your picture on it? Well, that certainly is a concern, and if you do have a concern with that, you don't necessarily have to have a face on there. Now, when it comes to age, I can tell you that most of the time when I read online different articles by, quote, career professionals, they always say that ageism starts at about 50 or 55. I've honestly, in my experience, I've seen it start at about age 58. Once you're over 58, then it does start to become a factor. It's not something that you can't overcome. There are strategies to overcome ageism. But if you look good, if you have a professional haircut, you're dressed in a professional suit. If you're looking for a 6-figure position that's relatively high, a higher level 6-figure position, actually being older works in your favor. A lot of companies crave somebody with a ton of experience. So that can actually work in your favor if you're looking for an executive position or a highly skilled position. As far as race discrimination, I honestly, when it comes to executive positions, I haven't seen it. I really haven't seen it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist out there. It's just that in today's job market, I'm not seeing that. But if you are concerned about it, and I don't know, each of you have a particular career situation. So in your career situation, if you're worried about something like that, then you don't have to put your picture on it, by all means. However, I can tell you that a LinkedIn profile is much more attractive to employers and recruiters if there's a picture attached, because it makes you into more of a real person, and it's not just words. I don't necessarily think that you should put it on your resume. I'm not a big fan of that. Larry also has a question. You say send 20